what's up guys? So today I'm going to be talking about kick-specific flexibility. I'm going to cover the, in my opinion, 5 basic-ish kicks. All right, 2 of them are a little bit more advanced, but these are kind of the basic ones that everything else really branches off of, and you have variations of. Now I'm going to talk about which muscles you need to have more flexible, which muscles you need to have strengthened in order to get higher level kicks for these. So the first one I'm going to talk about is going to be the front kick, right? Front snap kick, front kick, however you want to call it. Now, it looks like this. What muscles am I flexing, or which muscles are elongating whenever I do this? So in order to get a higher front kick, the 2 main ones that you need to stretch are going to be your hip flexors and your hamstrings, right? So the hip flexors are going to be right here. Hamstrings are right here in the back of the leg. So I'm going to talk real quick about how to stretch those. I'm just going to give you one stretch. You can look up a lot more later on if you're more interested in this. But you can drop this knee down, put this one out, and push your hips forward and down towards that front leg, and this is going to help stretch your hip flexors. A good stretch for the hamstrings is to sit down, put your other foot on the inside, and then reach, making sure that your back is straight. Whenever you're doing this, you should feel this again on the back of the leg. Now let's talk about it. So when I get a front kick, the leg that is kicking, right, this is the one where the hamstrings need to be stretched, right? You might do this. I'll show you. I'll give you an example. Try to hold your leg up, and now try to extend your leg out. And you feel those muscles being pulled. That's why you need to stretch these, so you can get it higher up as you kick. When they're more flexible, you'll be able to get it higher up. Now it's going to be the same thing, but opposite. Here, I'm actually going to be slightly leaning back and pushing my hip forward. Now if you do that, you can feel that that's being stretched. So those are going to be the 2 main ones, especially at the hip joint, which is where most of the kicks get their height from the flexibility at least. So keep that in mind. You're stretching this one, and then you're stretching this as you're going for that front kick. Now, a cool way to remember which ones need to be strengthened is going to be just flip it over to the other side of whatever it is. Right? So my hamstrings are at the bottom. That means I need to strengthen the top, my quads, right, on the leg. These need to be stretching. These need to be strengthening. If your quads aren't strong enough to extend out, then you're probably not going to be able to, right? You have to overcome. Your quads need to overcome the pull that your hamstrings are giving. You also, this is another thing, you have to strengthen your hip flexor on the other leg. Ideally, you're doing it on both legs. Don't just do one side. But you have to also strengthen the hip flexor. So it needs to be able to stretch, but it also needs to be strong enough to raise the leg up, right? These can be very difficult for people, just raising the leg up. So this is a great way to strengthen this, is to just raise the leg up. You'll feel that right here at the actual joint. And then you might also feel that a little bit going down into the quads. Now, on the other side of the hip flexors, we have our glutes. The glutes work on extending at the leg. So if you squeeze your butt, you can feel that your leg goes back, your knee goes back some. So that's actually what's happening here. Now this one isn't as important for getting a high kick on this. It is very important to have strong glutes though, but it is not as important for getting a high kick because we don't have a whole lot going on here that needs it, but we do still need that flexibility and we need that strength there in the back. So that is our front kick. And now as I get further into this, I'm going to be speeding up because a lot of these are very similar, right? So the next one we're going to cover is going to be our roundhouse kick. So what does a roundhouse kick look like? All right, so let's break this down. When my leg is out here, I'll even go kind of like the splits, right? So I've got this one turned out because whenever I'm doing this kick, this should be turned out, which means as I lower down, I'm stretching my hamstrings. Oh, you're going to realize the hamstrings need to be stretched. All of them. Hamstrings are going to be in all of them, every one of them. Right? Yes, all of them. So always stretch your hamstrings out because those are usually what people are really tight on, and they need to be flexible if you want high kicks. It's usually the main one that's holding people down. Now, unlike the last order for the front kick, this one, I have my hip in a slightly different position, and I'm raising up in this more of a sideways motion, right? After it's all the way up, sideways motion for that, which means I need to stretch the muscles on the inside of the leg. So how do we stretch the muscles on the inside of the leg? Oh man, the splits, really? Yes. You can practice splits, or another one that I really like, I call it the sumo splits sometimes, or the squatting splits is another thing I call it. Interchangeable, I just make up names. So whatever you want, just this motion. So I'm gonna point my toes outwards. I'm going to put my forearms on the inside, holding my knees outwards. That's the whole goal of that, is hold my knee outwards, and then I allow gravity to pull me down. So I just relax, and then you should be feeling that right here on the inside of the legs as if you're doing the splits. So that is what needs to be on this leg, but there's only so far that can really go. A lot of people can actually have it where their bones kind of get in the way, which means a lot of people, if you ever seen somebody kick straight up to the sky, which I'm sure if you have Instagram, you've seen that. If you follow anybody in Taekwondo, or a lot of Taekwondo, you're gonna see people kick straight up to the sky. If you look, I want you to actually pay attention to their base leg. That's where the flexibility comes from to be able to kick. You're gonna notice that their upper body is going to be angled downwards. I'm gonna put my hand down. I'm actually not able to kick directly up to the sky, right? But they go way down like this, and that flexibility comes from that base leg. You'll actually be able to see where their hip comes out a little bit more down at the bottom, because all of that flexibility when they kick straight up comes from here. And you'll notice that the angle, I'm gonna focus on this side now, this would be the kicking leg. The angle here doesn't go too much more than this for most people. But this side, their torso is very close to their leg. So that means majority of that height for the people that kick straight up means they have really flexible hamstrings, because you really can only go this far, and some people can't get more than that just based off of bone structure, so they compensate by getting flexible here. All right, so I already talked about the hamstrings. I talked about a great way to stretch it. You can look up more if you'd like, but I'm gonna now talk about this, right? So I talked about how you can stretch this. Another great one other than that is to do this one right here. All right, you want to make sure whenever you're doing this, you have the knee, or not the knee, the heel down on the ground as you're dropping this down, stretching towards the inside. Another thing, you need to be able to strengthen this, right? So on this, great thing to do is just these sideways leg raises. You can actually grab onto something, tilt your body sideways. Make sure when you do this though, your toes are pointed away from the leg that is being raised up, and you can practice this. This is going to help strengthen your hip abductors. So adductors add your legs together, they put them together. Abductors raise them out and apart. So that'll help strengthen this, and that'll help you get that height, because you can have flexibility, but if you don't have enough strength in your muscles to be able to raise the leg up, it's not going up, right? You have to have strength and flexibility in order to get higher kicks. Keep that in mind whenever you're training for this specific thing. All right, so now let's talk about side kick. It's the same as the roundhouse kick. It really is. So the motion for the actual kicking, thrusting motion is going to be different. So we're initiating different muscles and moving in a different pattern in order to get there. But the height portion of it is the same, right? So what's the in position look like? This is the in position for a roundhouse kick. This is the in position for a side kick. Not much of a difference other than the foot. The direction that it moves going out is different. It needs to be different. Don't make it the same. But the muscles that need to be strengthened and the muscles that need to be stretched are basically the exact same. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing this. These are actually going to be the most common ones that need to be stretched. This is the hamstrings on one, and then the adductors on the other. All right, so that is our side kick. Let's talk about the hook kick. It's the same. So the hook kick might be slightly different for one reason. A lot of people initiate the hook motion with this foot starting off sideways, and then it comes and it rotates. So sometimes you might go through the motion of hitting both adductors at the same time before it transitions to that hip flexor. So that is something, but for the most part, it's going to be the same. All right, so let's talk about another kick that is a little bit different. All right, so let's talk about our back kick, right? For back kick, turn, whoop, kick. All right, so guess what we have in there? Hamstrings again. Shocker, I know. All right, so the base leg, and the hamstrings are always, it's almost always just going to be base leg. It's going to be hamstrings. All right, now on this one is the hip flexors. This is almost like the opposite of a front kick, right? So the kicking leg here. Hip flexors need to be there, and hamstrings need to be there. Now, in order to strengthen this, we need to strengthen our glutes. That's going to help us raise that up. But also, a lot of the time, people just kind of tilt, and that'll also give them a little bit higher. One thing I want you to watch out for though is try not to really curve your back and stick your butt out there when you're doing this and have this big arch in your back. Oh, my back hurts. All right, I'm done doing that. All right, so we want to keep a relatively straight back whenever we're doing this. And then we want to make sure we strengthen those glutes, right? Same thing. If the hip flexors need to be stretched, the glutes need to be strengthened. All right, now I am saying these, but I don't want you to just pick one side like I mentioned before. I want you to stretch all of them, and I want you to strengthen all of them, right? Keep that in mind. You need to have stretchy, strong muscles in order to get higher kicks. So this is kick specific so that you can be aware of it. If you find that, you know, one kick is really deficient, then you can work on that specifically. But a lot of the time, it's going to be your hamstrings that need to be stretched. A lot of the time, it's going to be your adductors, the inside, that need to be stretched. Or it's going to be the hip flexors that need to be stretched, right? So the only one, so I like to think of it as going around. We've got in the front raising motion, we've got hip flexors. On the side raising motion, we've got our adductors. Those ones need to be strong. On the back raising motion, we've got our glutes. And then bringing it towards the inside, we've got our adductors, right? So we have our 4 muscle groups. It's not just one muscle on each, but our 4 muscle groups. This is really the only one that we don't need to be stronger in order for a higher kick. But that doesn't mean leave it out. It doesn't mean, hey, let's strengthen everything else and then forget about that. No, don't do that. That's how you get muscular imbalances, and that's how you have a bad time. Do you want to have a bad time? That's how you have a bad time. It also means it doesn't mean that you don't have to stretch the hip abductors whenever you're doing this, because you know you have to stretch here, you have to stretch on the inside, you have to stretch on the back. Go ahead and stretch the other side as well. All right. So I'm giving you this information so you can understand what's going on. But remember, for higher kicks, those are the main things you need. You need to stretch all 4, going around all 4 muscle groups, and then you need to strengthen all 4 muscle groups, right? If you can do that, constantly have it be able to stretch and be strong, then you're going to be able to do these kicks at a higher level, all right? So keep that in mind, and let me know, did this help you? Have you changed the way that you're going to stretch or things that you're going to work on in order to get better at a specific kick? If you did, and if you are going to, let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you have not already. All right, have a great day.